Right. And I think that's what happened to Eve, where the enemy was able to get in because he questioned her stability.
Right. Ooh,
I don't know where
good.
Adam was.
That's good.
She didn't have enough word and she didn't feel stable because he hit her at her weakness, and the devil watches. So a lot of women are being hit at their weakness, like stability, security. He's not going to take care of you. He doesn't want to take care of you and the kids, or he has his own thing going on. So you go get your own thing going on.
Good.
So I think when you create that stability, you make me feel like you don't have to go out and create your own. Right. You don't have to create your plan B.
Right.
Or C or D or F, because I have the plan A for our family. And so when you create that stability and consistency, and I can depend on it, I can rest in the soil. And then as I rest in the soil, I can bring forth fruit, and the kids are going to be blessed by it. But if I don't feel stable, because you're up today, down tomorrow, then my focus is going to be on creating my own stability, and I become selfish. So you're on your plan, I'm on my plan, and the poor kids are left to try to figure it out for themselves.
I want to give you a proof of that. I wish everybody, while you're watching, I wish you'd go look at YouTube and look at, his name is Thomas Sowell. He's an economist, a black economist. And that was a trick of a grand scheme during the time when they started implementing welfare.
Right.
And in welfare, the premise of welfare, one of the foundations, they say to give economic equality, but one of the conditions is that the father could not be in the home. How do you create economic stability
for a few dollars
for money? And one of their requirements, and Thomas Sowell argues the point. He says when you look at the statistics, even during the Great Depression, the black family was always stable. Every father, it was a part of their pride to go out and work. They were plumbers, they were masons, they were all these different things. They worked with their hands, and it created a stability for the family. In fact, he says, when you look at the statistics, by far, he says they thrived.
Wow.
They thrived as a family, as a unit, and they were able to buy homes, buy cars. They were able to be established. He says the moment that when you start to implement a plan of welfare, and one of the conditions under the guise of economic equality, one of the conditions is to take the father out of the home
for food stamps, and housing, and
to take the father out of the home
for security. False security, because if you know you're going to get this money, but you don't know if this man is going to be here, now you're dependent on the government.
And he argues, he says, what you're doing is you're destroying the family foundation. You're destroying it.
Marriage.
He says, because if your condition is to take the father out of the home for some food stamps and some money, you're going to destroy the black family. And he argued from the economic standpoint. He says we never had a problem, and then he says this statistics about of women going to work and all these different things. He says it's always been understood, especially in the black culture, that men always stood strong. They always learned how to work with their hands. What it does is, I heard the saying, in a time of crisis, ingenuity is the mother of all invention. So in a time of adversity, need creates ingenuity. And so when you understand that the necessity creates the ingenuity. And so when you understand that aspect, that every man has the strength and has the idea, has the right thought process. They have the strength, and God gave them the wherewithal. They can go work with their hands. They have a mind, they can think. God made it that way for the stability and the consistency of the home. But when you have these other things are in play, and now you have an ideology which actually supports and breeds feminism. It breeds it, because now you take the father out of the home. That means now it villainizes the man. It makes him a villain to his children. It makes him a villain. It makes him a visitor and a strange, to the wife. And now he has to sneak and duck and come see his children. And what happens if he gets beat down by a government he cannot overcome? And now they set the rules. Now he becomes the enemy. And because he becomes the enemy, now the woman
is a cycle of shame. Because then you go back because someone else is taking care of your kids, and you can't take care of your kids.
And then why would I try to do it? I'm defeated now because
you've empowered the woman. The woman has a new man called the government.
Yes, and now she's empowered. Right. And now when you look at the past 10 or 20 years, they have grants for women self-improvement. They have way more grants. They have way more scholarships. And now you have the father out of the home, and now you have all this supplemental income coming in to improve the woman. And then they'll spin and say he's worthless. That person doesn't want to work. They don't want to get a job. They want to, but you put the roadblock there.
Right, but the soil is still. The government can never recreate the soil that God ordained because they're not living in the home. They don't love the child. They're not there to love the mom. Because in order for the child to be stable, it's just not finances. The mother has to be psychologically stable, emotionally stable, and she has to be in a relationship where she can rest. Because even if you're not rested, you can't bring forth breast milk. Even if you're not rested, if you're stressed, you won't even get pregnant. You have to be in a particular condition. I know women get pregnant stressed, but there's a level of stress you can be in, and you can become infertile. So if the government can never supplement that part of it.
You know what's so interesting?
And then, can I say this too?
Go ahead.
And on the back end of that, because now she has to create her own soil she has impaired soil for the household. She's angry like Moses' wife, and I've got to take care of this whole house. So she's flinging foreskin at these kids and yelling at these kids, or drinking or smoking, or just not her best self, self-medicating, because all the responsibility is on her. And now she's a man-hater. She's celebrating Father's Day as if she's a father. She's celebrating Mother's Day, and now she's angry at men, and she just reduces men to maybe a sexual experience, and she doesn't know a man beyond that.
My goodness, I would say, and I would bank on it. Wow. I would put all my chips in. If women or men were in the home, or fathers were in the home and being responsible, you would not notice. We've been having this epidemic where more women are not carrying full-term their children.
Right.
You have more women that aren't able to get pregnant.
More women who are aborting.
More women who are
pregnant by.
More women who are aborting.
Right.
I guarantee you, if you had more men that were fathers in the home,
husbands first. Committed husbands first, you would not have the effects to the woman's body as you're having right now to this day. I believe it.
I would put all my chips in and say, if you allow men to stand up and be fathers, allow them the opportunity and the responsibility to be the father, you would not have as many abortions. You would not have as many child losses as far as single parent homes. You would not. I know that for a fact. You would not. Because that would be a value.
The soil would be
the soil would be right. And so these are the things that the importance of having a father, that it, especially for the wife, it creates an environment for her to thrive. It creates an environment for her to thrive, to be comfortable with being a mother. You know, for her to be comfortable for being the one that God made her to be. And I'm talking about biological motherhood. That's a beautiful thing. A father understands the importance of motherhood. And he doesn't despise that. He understands that. And so a father protects. He cultivates. He's the source. He becomes the sustainer. He's the one that he even teaches. And so if we learn to go back and value, fatherhood is important.
And it's so important to trust the soil. And yes, some men have done things that made their wives or the women in their lives not trust them. But if you don't trust the soil, you are going to be creating your own soil.
That's right.
And then from that, you're going to try to parent from that. You're not going to let the father have impact on the children. You're going to block it. You're going to stand in the way because you don't trust it.
Right.
And so now you do more because you don't trust it. When I think about that, I think about Isaac and Rebecca and how, she did that whole game with Jacob when she could have just trusted the process. Right. God was going to do what he was going to do, but she triangulated with her child because on some level, she didn't trust what Isaac was doing. And so she felt like she had to devise a plan. And when you don't feel like you can trust the father, then it makes you have an unnatural relationship with your children. And it becomes you and your children versus the man. So you can put the man out. So sometimes that can happen too. So it is important that the first relationship established is marriage, a trusting relationship, because then when the children come in, the father has to be able to cultivate in that area too, and you can't restrict. Now, even if there's an impact where if the father, because fathers are fathers, they're not perfect, there's redemption. We know, like we look at Abraham and Sarah, he took her advice, and where he should have been leading, and then she and then when she was in danger, she could still trust God because God protected her.
You
with the king. The king wanted to sleep with her when Abraham lied and said, "Oh, here you go."
Right.
So it's still like
Tell her you're my sister.
Right. So that didn't have a very big impact. But I did want to talk about like for the people who are not married and the father impact. Like how can you still have for guys out there who may have made, a choice that they weren't aware of to be with someone and then it resulted in a child, or maybe there was divorce. How can you still have impact on your children via your wife, your girl, the mother of your child?
Let me first
mother of your child.
Let me first say this. In every man, fatherhood is inherent. That means it's built in.
Well, they said, well, she won't let me. We have to build that relationship.
Fatherhood is built in.
Right.
There are ways that you can go about, and I think that we're dealing with much of our generation that do not have fathers.
Absolutely.
That do not have fathers, and you may not know how to be a father. But here's the thing: there are books. First, the Bible shows us what a father is and what a good father is. The Bible lets us see our Father. And it allows us to see his characteristics. So if you want to learn how to be a father, read the Bible. You get to see the fatherhood of God. Start there first. Then you can actually read other books about fatherhood, what it takes to be a father. So there's some things that people have done studies on, effective fathering, effective fatherhood. There's a book, Miles Monroe, Principles of Fatherhood. There's books you can read. The other thing is that you have to not only have, you have to actually do it. You have to be about it. It's not good enough to say, I'm a father, and I have a desire, but you won't know how to father unless you get in the game.
Right. And I can say this too. It's difficult to co-parent and to be a father, but you still play an important role on the mother of your child. And sometimes we just talk about co-parenting and the focus is on the child. But it does behoove you to resolve any frustration you have with the mother and to resolve any resentment and hate and get amicable, even if she may not, because women, we're a little more petty and we can hold petty longer. Men are a little more jealous and territorial and they, it looks different, but we can be petty. But I think even with the petty, if it's broken down through consistency and predictability, the woman will appreciate that about him. I encountered someone before when a trainer and for one of my children, and he said he would in a heartbeat pay for a breast augmentation for his child's mother, whatever she needed, money, whatever he could call her, because he knew that his relationship with her and her happiness would directly affect children.
The child. That's right.
That's what we have to remember. So when you want to talk down about the mother, or when you want to treat the mother bad, that's going to impact her health and her perspective, and then that's going to affect your child. So it behooves you to be, like I said, amicable, friendly, helpful, and you may feel like she's not going to control me. I'm not going to do whatever she wants me to do. Within reason, when you cultivate that relationship, then that relationship makes it better for your child.
Right.